This podcast is sponsored by StockPick. Most investment information is delivered through dense, convoluted websites. StockPick is the only investor-focused mobile app that serves world-class news and insights through short, engaging videos similar to TikTok or YouTube Shorts. Every week, you'll get 15 or more stock tips from Wall Street pros, plus their team shares daily buy-sell recommendations from the world's top brokerages. Try StockPick today on a 14-day free trial. Check out the link in the description below. Now back to the episode.
Class is now in session.
Welcome back to episode 13 of the 9 Degrees podcast. That's a baker's dozen for those that didn't know. This is the number one non-educational, education-themed podcast in the world. We may have 9 degrees among us, but we still don't know very much about anything. Someone asked me about this earlier this week. They literally were like, why is it called 9 degrees? And I had to walk through the whole degrees thing. It's because we have 9 degrees. But anyways, as always, I'm your boy Jerome. We got MADDOX, we got Jackson, we got Jared back for another week. And you know what? Screw the rest of the intro. Let's jump right into Homeroom with pleasantries. How's everyone doing this week? Everyone doing good?
Good. I'm gonna top off the week by cracking open a cold one from our soon-to-be sponsor.
Oh,
Athletic Brew.
Have we reached out to them, or have they reached out to us?
We haven't. But, it's called vision boarding, or what do you call it?
Okay.
What is it when you bring it into?
Like a vision board. You want to
manifesting. Yeah, we're manifesting it.
Yeah.
So I came up with some promotional
slogans.
Nice. Slogans. So I'm gonna do those now.
Go for
it. Athletic Brew. It's non-alcoholic beer.
Honestly, not gonna lie, MADDOX. It's factual.
That one's not good.
It's weak.
Okay.
I need a little bit better.
Athletic Brew for when you want to drink but you don't want to get drunk.
Right?
Factual.
All
but
right.
Yeah.
All right. This is gonna make for a great clip.
Number three. Athletic Brew for when you want to pretend like you're an athlete at the bars.
I thought that was Michelob Ultra.
Someone explain that one to me. Is it because athletes can't drink or something?
Anyway, this is the Mexican-style copper flavor.
Copper?
Yeah. Atletica is that name of it. Like Spanish athletics.
Oh.
Nice. Yeah, this is my favorite flavor so far. I'm trying to try all of them. Kind of gives me Corona vibes. But
okay. Well, Mexican lager.
My second favorite's the IPA one. I had the hazy one too, which it was pretty good, but that's not my favorite flavor of beer. But I've been enjoying them because I was telling you about my business idea, and I think I've tried a couple different things, and I think this solves what I was trying to solve like the best. And I think it's just
so far
it's a beer.
So far,
like it's creating that experience that, which is really, I don't know. You're not getting inebriated, but it gives you the satisfaction of having a beer still.
Which MADDOX, we've had some fan submissions of things that you should try.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical of them, but
there was one that was mushroom gummies.
Yeah.
Okay. Supposedly gives you this chill vibe without the ickiness. There was another one. Someone commented on the YouTube clip. They said take a seltzer like a White Claw or something. Specifically, I believe they're talking about the High Noon tequila. High Noon, because as Jared said last week, like tequila apparently helps to not give you hangovers and stuff. And add a little bit of CBD to it.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
You might just be getting crossed now, but...
Yeah, so... But the idea, though, is to take those concepts and put them into a beverage that is, universally sold, So people are going out to the bars and, just having some of these, and it's like a substitute. And that just doesn't exist yet, in my view. I know there's different things out there, but no one has, solved that problem. Created a substitute that's, widely available and widely universally accepted as an alternative to drinking while you're socializing. That doesn't exist yet. So that's that was my That was the business idea. If you could figure that out, I think that would be a lucrative opportunity.
Nice. I'm here with you. I've got a gripe. I've got a gripe this week. And my gripe, again, this has happened once before on this podcast. I have a gripe with Jared. Here's my gripe. Here's my gripe. Last Friday, exactly 7 days before the recording of this video, was my birthday. And my father came to visit me. We had an amazing time. And Jared so kindly took us to a baseball game, the Orioles. Orioles versus Red Sox. Very high-scoring game, 12-10. But here's my gripe. Jared, how the hell are you going to take me to a baseball game where your team loses? That's crazy.
Listen, so this has been kind of a thing. You're not the only one disappointed in the Orioles right now. Trust me, that's more me than it is you. I can guarantee you that. It was 12-10. You know, Craig Kimbrell, for all the Orioles fans out there, for all the Philly fans out there, they know what's wrong with it. It was awful. It was a roller coaster of, oh, are we coming back? Nope, we're down by 5.
Here's the other thing was Jared was wearing this jersey of their like starting catcher, like really, really good catcher. Didn't play. He didn't play that day. Also, their pitcher, it was bobblehead night. So it was like this guy's apparently so good that they made bobbleheads of him. Yeah, there it is. They made bobbleheads of this guy and gave him out to all the fans. I've got one sitting on my desk right over here. And he got taken out in like the 4th inning. And I'm like, Jared, how'd you get me so hyped for all this? And then nothing.
I talked to the Orioles. You know, they're taking it under consideration. You know, the complaints have been heard.
And here's the thing that hurt me the most. They did birthday shout outs, and Jared forgot to put my name on the list. So I did not get a birthday shout out.
Yeah, I will take the criticism on that one.
All right, that's it. That's all I have going on this week.
Where do you go put the name on the list? I didn't. How do you do this?
I think you can I forget if you have to pay for it or not, but I think you can just send it in to one of their social media teams and just say hey, my buddy JEROME is turning 28 today. Yeah. And they'll throw it up on the scoreboard in the 4th or 5th inning.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the big question though. What did you eat for your birthday meal at the ballpark?
So we had, by Jared's recommendation, what is called a Maryland dog. So it is a hot dog that has what I can only describe as a slightly dried out crab queso. And then, those potato chips that are potato sticks, you know, those are sprinkled on top. It was decent. It was decent. However, my argument would be the taste of the dog very much overpowers the crab and the potato sticks. And my dad said it was very messy and it got all over him. He did not like that it was messy.
It definitely sounds like
it was good.
Yeah, it's like a novelty thing that you got to try though.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
I mean, it sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And Jared bought the dogs. Jared bought the beers.
Wow.
So very, very thankful. I know.
What a guy, Jared. Guy. We should have him on the podcast.
If only the Orioles would have done their job, it would have been a great day.
Well, what's going on with you? What's your gripe this week, Jared?
Oh, okay. So I don't have gripes very often. But I was playing. I joined a volleyball league for this 6 weeks or whatever. And so our teams we're decent. You know, we're not great. We lose to the best teams, and then we beat up on the bad teams. But my gripe specifically is we're in a recreational league. And so you're not really supposed to take it super seriously. It's still competitive, but it's not a labeled competitive league. And the team that we were playing yesterday, they had one too many people that were overly competitive, questioning every call of did that hit the back line? I don't know. From here, it looked like it was a back line. And then, being a little loud or spiking the ball a little too hard. So my gripe is just pick your league. This is recreational, go for the win if the point's there for you, but you don't have to go crazy. I know I've seen people play tennis or pickleball and they're way too serious for whatever league that they're in. And, I just that's my gripe. Just pick your league and just have fun with it. If you want to be competitive, go competitive. But I'm not trying to get a ball spiked in my face on a Thursday night.
I'm totally with you. I'm
100% with you. This is why I quit playing adult league soccer, because it was just
maybe we were just playing in too high of a league, Maddox. Maybe we needed to bring it down one level.
Was there different leagues in soccer?
Yeah, well, I don't know about the place that we used to play at in Knoxville. I don't know, but like at UT, there definitely was. There was like competitive versus rec, and we always would go competitive because we're trying to get that bag. I don't know what bag I'm talking about, but the
No
T-shirt
bag.
maybe.
Well, I wasn't. I had to bow out. I was like, I'm not at the point where I'm willing to get injured for a recreational soccer league.
Hilariously, I'm trying to get back into it.
I think you should. I don't know about competitive. I think you should get into recreational soccer. I think you'd enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I actually,
good exercise.
Yeah. I want to ask Jackson, have like you run into that when you're not playing like pickleball tournaments, but you're just like playing with somebody and they get like a little bit like overly competitive? Does that like ever annoy you? Do you ever run into that?
Yeah, so when you say overly competitive, like I don't mind if someone is like trying their hardest. I'm always trying my hardest when I play recreationally at the park. But I guess what I don't like is just whenever someone gets mad, takes it too seriously. I feel the same when I'm playing video games with someone. Anytime I'm doing anything with a group of people, I think it's generally like not cool to like get upset or ruin the vibe of the game.
I hate you. I hate you so much right now. I hate you so much right now. How often have we played League of Legends, the four of us here, and you get so mad at us, and you're like, you should really learn the mechanics of the game before you try to do blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Jackson, we've been playing this game for 7 years. I don't know that I can learn the mechanics of this game anymore.
Bro, I'm just joking around. We're just, okay. I get enjoyment. I think it's funny to make fun of you guys. So as long as I get enjoyment out of something, I'm okay with doing it.
No, it is. It's funny. It is. All right. Let's. Maddox, anything you had to say?
We just haven't played in a while. I'm getting.
It's true.
We should get a game going.
That's why mechanics are bad, by the way, because we don't play very often.
Oh my god.
Are you still playing, Jackson?
Yeah, every now and again.
Okay.
Well, let's get right into first period with yours truly, Professor Jerome. I've got a couple articles this week. First one being, Disney is trying to dismiss a wrongful death lawsuit for a Disney Plus free trial? Ooh, what's happening here? Okay, so here's the rundown. On October 5th, 2023, an NYU doctor visited Disney Springs, which is a Disney-owned shopping complex in Orlando, Florida, with her husband and her mother-in-law. They stopped in at this Irish pub for dinner, and this lady apparently has a very severe dairy and nut allergy. And so she was questioning like several items on the menu and like asking the waiter, if things could be made allergen free. The waiter went specifically go ask the chef, and the chef said, yes, we can make them allergen free. And they confirmed, yes, she could. So she ordered what she wanted with the confirmation from the restaurant that they could do it, right? After the meal, the husband went back to the hotel room, and she and her mother-in-law went shopping out in this Orlando Springs shopping mall or whatever. And while shopping, they got separated, went to two different stores, and so she's by herself at this point, this NYU doctor, right? She then has an allergic reaction, collapses. Someone nearby, not the mother-in-law, because remember they got separated, calls 911. She's taken to the hospital. She's not answering her phone. Husband can't get a hold of her. Mother-in-law can't get a hold of her. No one knows where she is. And finally, they reach her phone. Someone at the hospital says, please come quickly. She's had an allergic reaction. And by the time they get to the hospital, she has passed away. Insane story. So, naturally, the husband is trying to sue Disney Corporation for wrongful death. And honestly, he's not even asking for that much. He's asking for $50,000, which I feel like in this scenario is not that much money. Like, I feel like you could be suing for millions. But here's the craziest part. Earlier last year, the husband signed up for a free trial of Disney Plus. And what is in the terms and agreements of the free trial of Disney Plus? It says that any sort of dispute with Disney should be arbitrated with the company directly and cannot be taken to court. And now Disney is trying to get the suit tossed out on the front that the husband signed the terms and agreements for Disney Plus, and so therefore does not have the right to take it up in court and has to settle with the company directly. Thoughts?
This is why I don't want Disney Plus.
So many
Too many loopholes.
Insane.
I don't like it because
insane.
it has no content on it.
Well,
Teach their own, though.
Okay, so
yeah,
now we're just talking
I
about
feel like
Disney+.
we're just hating on
We're
Disney+.
missing the point here.
So, I've seen those arbitration agreement things or whatever before. I actually had one in the documents for one of my firms,
Mhm.
but I took it out. But like, are those allowed? Like that just like.
I mean,
why
I
are they
guess
like?
so.
Why are they allowed? Like, like the point of the court system is to protect, like to be able to sort stuff out,
To be just.
So,
to be just.
yeah, right. So like, what is
Theoretically.
putting into your contracts? Oh, you can't go to court. Like, that just seems like defeats the purpose. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think this doesn't make sense at all. Also,
But I
feel
also
like
think it's the norm.
Yeah,
I think
course.
every major company like has those types of things in there.
right. But I would think that like Disney Plus should be separate from Disney Corporation. Like I understand their own, like Disney Corporation owns Disney Plus, but like whatever they put in their terms and agreements for arbitration or whatever should be if you have an issue with Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. It had nothing to do with the service that Disney Plus provided his wife.
Completely agree.
It was at Disney.
Yeah,
different company.
Completely agree.
And by the way, just like he didn't even pay for the Disney Plus subscription. It was just a free trial that he later canceled.
Right. And so he's now trying to fight this thing that they've done, saying that technically it's not him that is suing Disney. It is his wife's estate. And the estate did not exist when Disney Plus, when he signed up for the thing. And, but like all that aside, like this just seems ridiculous. And so here's the follow-up to it. Disney is now backtracking and saying, quote, "We strive to put humanity above all other considerations, and with such unique circumstances, the situation warrants a sensitive approach to expedite a resolution for the family who have experienced such a loss." And I'm like, Disney, shut the hell up. No, you don't. You don't care about humanity. You're just doing this because it became a story on the internet, and there's a lot of pushback now.
If Disney cared about humanity, they would stop pushing out so much garbage Star Wars content.
Oh my God.
So
oh my God.
I'm just saying, if they really cared about humanity, we would
Jared,
see it.
The Acolyte or whatever it's called got canceled. Don't worry about it. All the merch got
It
pulled.
went through an entire season. I just didn't get another season, but there were 8 episodes of that nonsense.
In the next episode of this podcast, we're going to have a segment talking about how bad Disney Plus content is.
There we go.
Maddox,
We're just queuing it up.
I understand how you feel sometimes now when you're telling a story and you have a point to it and it just gets completely just, you know what? F this husband. We're done.
No, I have some more comments.
Yeah.
I have more comments, please.
Go ahead.
Have we not solved allergies yet, though? Like deadly allergies? Like seriously?
I don't think so. I feel like
Bro.
the peanut allergy, the nut allergy.
Yeah, my sister is
Crazy.
like deathly allergic to peanuts, and she comes in contact with it on accident all the time, just because,
Sure.
there's
Yeah,
so
life.
many various ways that peanuts exposure can creep into things that you eat, and I'm like, why? It's a sad thing to like pass away from, and it seems like something that we could figure out.
Was there not like talk like a while ago about like essentially like microdosing on things until you like quote unquote grew out of the allergy?
I've heard about that. I don't know if it's successful or not, but
I know that that's a treatment that's used by what are allergy doctors called? Allergists. Like there's actually allergy doctors who spend a lot of time doing this. Back to the point of the story though. I do want to say I was familiar with the story, and yeah, basically Disney has really shot themselves in the foot with this. It's been like basically like a huge PR disaster for them.
Agreed.
Because I remember when this first got posted to Reddit, something on like r/NotTheOnion or places like that, and weeks later, like that was a couple weeks ago, and it's still being talked about, and this is a lawsuit from like last year, and it's still being arbitrated like to this day. Like
the court hearing, Jackson, isn't until October of this year. That's going to be literally 1 year from when his wife passed away. That's and for in their statement to say an expedited resolution for a family that's experienced such a loss. Fuck off, Disney. Anyway, so we should all cancel our Disney Plus subscriptions.
Sold.
That being said, like I'm about to re-up on mine and get the more expensive version that includes Max, but I'm sorry, dude, it's such a good deal.
I have a tangential story that's similar to this. So, Toyota recently, the GR Corolla, which is a car in their performance lineup, two of them have the newer ones have like caught on fire and like completely just up in flames out of nowhere. And I don't think anyone was hurt, any of the drivers, but this was very early in their life, you know, within like 10,000 miles. Like these are brand new cars. And both people filed warranty claims because they're like, this is a brand new car and it caught on fire. Like the warranty should cover that. And Toyota denied both of them and essentially sent them like boilerplate, like same messages to them about why they were denying it. And part of the reason was because a data packet was sent from the vehicle at some point in its life that the vehicle was exceeding 85 miles per hour. And they're making a point that that's not like that exceeds the speed limit. So they're like not driving the car safely. These cars, the GR cars, they come with a track day. Right? Yeah. They come with a free track day. Literally. You can take the car to the track.
Like they're meant Toyota. To be track cars. Yeah, like Maddox, you have one with your car, don't you? Like technically you have a free track day?
Yeah, I haven't used it yet, but like they are performance vehicles, like they're meant to be driven on the track and stuff. And so they're using that to deny warranty claims. And like also they just said at some point in this car's life we can see that it's gone over 85 miles per hour. So it's like not even that you did it or you know, like a previous owner could have driven it over 85 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Like, so
wow, that's insane.
Corporations, dude,
I know they're just
out to get you.
They're gonna get their money.
This sounds like how like every car insurance company tries to deny claims in like the most sort of mental gymnastics way possible.
Man, that's why I don't want to have those like progressive what's it called, like where you use the app or like you have like a device. Yeah, exactly, Snapshot. I don't want to use that because I know on occasion I'm gonna be driving fun. You know what I mean?
They claim that it can't affect your rates, can't go up based on it.
Really?
But I guess they could deny a claim from it.
Yeah.
If
I would also, I don't want that in my car. I just no, stay out of my life. Like,
I can't trust these people, man.
I have it in my Turo rental car, and it'll beep at you if you accelerate too fast or you brake too hard. So
what?
Yeah, people on the Dragon. Beep beep beep.
This podcast is sponsored by And Collar. And Collar is an affordable men's clothing company where products are sustainably made with the equivalent of 15 recycled plastic water bottles. Their shirts have 4-way stretch, are machine washable, liquid repellent, and wrinkle and stain resistant. You can go to andcollar.com right now and get 15% off using code 9. Just so everyone knows, the code has changed. It is code 9 for 15% off. Thanks to And Collar. Okay, I got another story for you guys. The Chipotle CEO just goes to Starbucks. And that's not like he gets Starbucks for breakfast or whatever. He is now the CEO of Starbucks. I phrased that very poorly. Brian Nicole, I think his name is. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. He is now the new CEO of Starbucks in a shock move that sent Starbucks shares up 24%. The previous Starbucks CEO was only there for about 18 months and was brought on to engineer a reinvention of the entire company. But over the last 18 months, Starbucks stock has continued to fall about 25%. So all of the previous CEO's failures have basically just been completely corrected with this one move, right? I actually didn't know this. In my mind, like I've always associated Chipotle with like, yes, the food's good. In my personal opinion, the price is like not that bad. But like, didn't they have that big like mad cow disease outbreak or something like that several years ago? Or no?
But happens.
I agree. It happens, but I just assumed that like people still thought of Chipotle like that. Apparently, Chipotle stock in the last 5 years since this guy has been CEO of Chipotle has gone up 300%, which is insane. And so let's talk about his comp package for a second. Base salary at Starbucks of $1.6 million with incentive cash bonuses between 225% to 450% max of that base salary. So a total cash compensation of up to $8.8 million a year and annual equity awards of up to $23 million a year. What do we think? Do we think Starbucks is going to go up? I didn't know anything was wrong with Starbucks, to be completely honest with you.
When you said the prices like immediately basically jumped like 25%, the first thought that came into my mind was like, wow, do we really respect Chipotle that much? Yeah. I mean, you said the 300%. I completely agree. But yeah, right. That's what I was most surprised by.
So sorry to disregard your point here, Jerome, but the thing that I think about when this is I saw that a congressperson, I don't remember which one, it wasn't Nancy Pelosi, but bought Starbucks like before this was released, sold right after, made like $250,000. It's like
they knew, dude. They knew.
I don't know how they know that kind of stuff, but I guess
that one is probably more just like knowing the right people, like being in the right circles type of thing. You know,
isn't that still what insider trading is?
Yeah, it is. It is. Like this guy, realistically, or the board of Starbucks or whoever it was, should not have told anyone that this move was happening. But of course, like information gets leaked. And it's hard to prove. Allegedly.
Just to cover our asses if somebody ever comes around for us.
But anyway, I was surprised that this mattered so much. I mean, also I kept seeing that he's like going to work from home, and everyone was like mad about that.
I was just about to say this because Maddox, I looked it up. Starbucks has an environmental responsibility, like, what's it called? Clause or like, what do you call it?
Sure.
Promise,
mandate,
promise, mandate
mission?
For their company. Mission,
philosophy,
mission
okay.
Is a good word, Jackson. Thank you. Starbucks has an environmental responsibility mission where they claim on their website that what they would like to do is reduce our carbon footprint, our water use, and reduce waste by half by 2030. And then now they're going to let this guy stay in California, wherever his house is, and do this 1,000-mile super commute via jet. And it's like, okay, we're not concerned about that. Like, I hate this concept of like all these companies and all these like PR marketing firms try to tell us like we as like retail, like consumer people need to be environmentally conscious about everything. And like everything's our fault. When in reality, most of this is like private jets, right? I'm not flying on a private jet.
Yeah, welcome to neo-feudalism.
Yeah,
it's have you seen the thing with Taylor Swift where you like follow her jet around? Like she's like one of the most active like people that talks about like environmental change and like sustainability and environmental responsibility and all this stuff. And it's like she flies on a jet everywhere. Like her single, and like she does tons of shows all across the world. It's like her single jet. Her and Drake.
Yeah. If there's somebody who makes more than like $10 million and they start talking about like individual responsibility, you just probably shouldn't listen to them.
Yeah,
if I'm being completely honest.
Right.
Just as a side note, I love using Taylor Swift, like to Taylor Swift fans, as like the butt of private jet environmentally friendly jokes. I just find that really funny. And I always use Taylor Swift since she's the most famous example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. Her and her like jet situation.
And okay, so I don't have like any of the stats to back this up, but I do remember reading somewhere that I think it started in like the 90s or possibly the 80s that this whole PR campaign of individual responsibility, you know, you think like, oh, that was probably started by environmental firms. Actually, it was an idea started by like oil companies to get the
target off their
pressure off of them. And be like, oh, you know, we're going to shift the vision onto like, or we're going to now be like, oh, you know, you have to, you know, drive less, you have to turn your lights off, you know, and then if you don't, then you're the one who's not environmentally responsible. When in reality, I think it's something along the lines of like 30% of all is dubious fact. 30% of all emissions globally are directly caused by corporations and businesses.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Anyone else have any other thoughts?
Yeah, just the sustainability thing. I've gone through. I feel like I went through a period in my life, like post college, senior year. I took an environmental philosophy class, and I got like pretty into it. So I tried to implement a lot of things in my life to be more sustainable. And eventually, you just get bogged down because it's like it's like a prisoner's dilemma. Do you guys know that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like basically you're just making your life more inconvenient, and then everyone around you is just living a more convenient life. And
have you?
And
MADDOX,
you're also not making a difference because that's me. You know, recycling my things is not going to change the world.
This is so tangential, but have any of you ever watched the sitcom The Good Place with Kristen Bell?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like this is exactly what you're talking about. So, you know, for those that don't know, the listeners that don't know, The Good Place is about this woman who dies and she ends up in heaven, but psych, turns out it's not actually heaven, it's actually hell. And it's just like the demons in hell are like pretending like it's heaven and whatever. And the way that they decipher like if you get to go to heaven or if you go to hell is like based on this like point system of like how good of a person were you on Earth. And in one of the episodes, they literally talk about this where they're like, humans innately, for the most part, try to be good, but they're like losing points because, you know, say you as an individual are environmentally conscious and you want to cut down on your consumption of red meat because cows release a lot of methane and blah, blah, whatever, right? Well, okay, maybe you decide that you want to eat tilapia instead. Well, okay, it's now farm raised tilapia, so negative points for that. Like it's raised in an area where it's using bad water and that's like contaminating things and blah, blah, blah. Like, and all these things like pile up. And then what they found out in that show was every single human ends up going to hell because all their points are negative. And it's like, you mean well, but you can't control like everything upstream of what you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And not to go fully pessimistic, like if you don't want to be a part of the problem, like that's worthwhile. Like if you want to like be environmentally conscious because you don't want to be a part of the problem, I do think that's like meaningful.
Agreed.
But you got to take the glasses off. You're not going to you're not individually changing the world. Let's put the pressure back on the oil companies.
Well, this is what I realized. So I've lived in several different cities, you know, in my adult life, and here where, you know, our hometown, the recycling center is very conveniently located at like the center of town. It's very efficient. You just drive in. It's single stream. You don't have to sort the stuff. It's clean. Free. It's free. And when you know, it's just made convenient for you, you just do it because it's convenient.
That being said, though, MADDOX, like, is it actually being recycled? Here's my question. We both went to the University of Tennessee, and we both lived in dorm rooms in the University of Tennessee. I don't know if you saw this happen. I saw this happen in Fred Brown all the time. We used to have a trash can and a recycle bin in the room, right? And when the like housekeeping people would come to take the trash, both of the bags would get put in the same dumpster. Just taken out to the same dumpster. And then it's like, oh, well, this is all just for...
Well, maybe that is true. And again, it's like the point thing. It's like, well, we can't control. Like
that's true. At the end of the day, you can only do what you can do. If you're trying...
I think we should just make a transition to literally every product is made in recyclable material. And like, there's not even a landfill anymore. Like everything can just be recycled and it's like perpetual. I don't know how that should work, but I think that's like what we should get to.
So here's the problem. And I think we're working towards that. So I used to work at Eastman Chemical Company, big chemical plant, make a lot of chemicals and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I found out while I was working there that for decades, America shipped most of its recyclables to China to get recycled and processed. And at some point in the mid 2010s, China stopped taking our recycled products because, you know, US-China tensions were becoming worse and whatever. And they refused to take it. That's when a bunch of stuff started just ending up in the landfill. Eastman, the company that I work for, we started developing this molecular recycling plant where we could break down plastics down to the molecule, recycle it, make more water bottles and whatever, blah, blah. Just got a ton of funding grants from the U.S. government to build a ton more plants all across the U.S. I haven't worked at Eastman in 5 years now, probably 4 years, but they're just now starting to get all that funding. The problem, though, is other things like glass, for instance. Most places in America still can't process glass for recycling. So I think the infrastructure is not there, but we're working on it. We're trying.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I think that's like I've kind of realized the ultimate solution is just doing it at the government level, making it super convenient for everybody. That's how the major change. It's not going to be everyone just joining hands and kumbaya and everyone, changes the the environment together.
Yeah.
So
agreed. All right, I got one more thing for you guys. Have you guys been keeping up with the DNC, the Democratic National Convention? Anyone?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, Jackson, what are your general thoughts?
It seems to be going well. It seems to be a big hit.
Okay. Do we feel like the marketing is there? Is it on point?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I saw a Kamala rally a little while ago where Megan Thee Stallion was performing at it, and I was like, nah, I don't know if we're going for the right audience here.
I think, didn't Beyonce perform on the final night of the DNC? Do I have that right?
No, it was just a rumor. She didn't come out.
Oh, dang. Yeah. Well, I bought into it. There we go.
Yep. No,
they had a lot of celebrities, though. They had Steph Curry. They had Steve Kerr. I'm only naming Golden State Warriors, but they had other people there too.
Hey, we don't know. Steph Curry is out here teasing that he might go to the Lakers. So
no chance. No,
I agree that it's going well. I think there's a marketing issue in the sense of they're not targeting the young voters in the right ways. I see a lot of, Trump keeps hitting up these podcasts, right? He just did Theo Vaughn. He's been on Logan Paul's. And I'll give you the caveat that they're like pretty red pill podcasts, but why are we not hitting the podcast game, bro? Why is Kamala not on this podcast right now? I'm just saying.
I think she's got more important things going on than to have our, excuse my language, dumbasses asking her questions.
Considering that our audience is mostly haters, I don't think it would do her any favors to
that being said, I do think I just in social media, which I do think has many more eyes than traditional media, in my personal opinion, I just feel like Trump is like killing the social media game. He's constantly in front of my face.
I agree. I don't know why, but he's in my algorithm, like
just constantly. And like,
I don't even want to watch it. I'm just always there.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is like he went on Theo Vaughn. He did what other podcast did he do recently? He did Logan Paul's. I know he's done like several other ones.
Did he go on Joe Rogan?
That's the one I was gonna say, but I don't know that he did. I
feel like
certain.
I heard that he was maybe going to. But also, Lex Friedman's apparently supposed to interview him, which that would be a good conversation.
And that's what I'm saying is like these are some of the biggest podcasts in the world across all different demographics, all different age groups. And it's like all these people are willing to take Kamala as well. I don't know. I don't know where the holdup is.
I also think she's a good speaker, so I think the podcast format would do her well.
I totally agree.
Jackson, did I overstep? She gives me Obama vibes a little bit.
It's hard to say. I think Obama would be good on podcasts. I think probably better than Kamala. I mean, it's hard to say until we see her on a podcast, and I don't know if we will. I will just say though that like this might be we have different algorithms kind of thing because I saw a lot of Kamala on my algorithm, especially like in the several weeks after she announced. I know that one of her social media strategies in the early periods of her campaign when she didn't have a lot of like promotional material or like policies, which as happens when you don't plan to run for president and then all of a sudden you have to, is like, they were using, do you guys know Brat? Anyone know Brat? The Charlie XCX album? They were using that as their marketing, and that resonated with like a lot of, I don't know if we got a lot of young people, certain types of young people. So it might just be that you all have different, you all have different feeds, you have different algorithms.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
And that raises the question of like social media. I mean, it's documented that social media will target different content, like different political content toward you based on who you are and what they know about you.
I will say I have seen Kamala content. I saw on TikTok like her initial video where it's like, I'm on TikTok now.
Yeah.
That was like, I don't know. So
do you think that she needs podcasts? I guess, and we're saying this on a podcast, so we might have some bias.
And okay, so I would say young people tend to lean Democrat anyway. So maybe maybe the campaign is like, okay, we don't need to focus on that demographic because they tend to vote Democrat anyway. Whereas the Republican ticket, like maybe they need to do like things like podcasts and social media because they're trying to earn the young vote. If that makes sense. Jared, do you disagree?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, we can talk about the young vote like all day long, but like the young vote is the vote that votes the least, right?
Yeah,
so
fair.
like, I mean, if you're in the middle of a presidential election and you're worried about the young vote, like you're screwed. Like that's not the vote that's going to carry you one way or the other. And I would say, I would imagine, no facts behind this, that, I mean, Donald Trump is trying to get free advertising. So when you talk about like social media, like that's free advertising to one way or another. So he's really good at getting like free advertising. I don't think Kamala has that problem. I mean, she has the war chest as well. So I would say for like a couple of things, like, I don't know if the young vote is what they're really going for. And I don't know if she really needs the free content.
Yeah. Another thing to consider is that among young voters, there's a big gender divide. I actually think Trump does very well with men aged 18 to 25. Might even be winning that demographic or close to it. Whereas Kamala does way better with women. And so, I don't know if you noticed, we're all men here. So we might just have a different perspective.
But listen, like I'm older than 25. Well, I'm older than 25. I've grown into my beta-ness. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure. Anyways, the point is though that half the young voters are women, and so the Kamala team is using different strategies to reach out to them. Whereas, and so and they might not we might not be receiving that because we're men and we have different algorithms.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
I'll say I don't know if she needs it or not. I don't know. I'm not a big politics guy anyway, but I think that long format podcasts are like the best way to genuinely get to know like a person's character. So
and
in that
what
regard,
they stand for, right? Like right now, personally, like I don't know anything about her politics or what she's proposing. Would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I almost think every the big podcasts like the Lex Fridman, Joe Rogan, I would imagine that their demographic audience is not young people.
Yeah,
I would say
they're probably pretty diverse.
Middle-aged people, yeah. But so yeah, I mean, I think they should go on there. I would definitely listen to those conversations. I think a lot of people would, and it would be a very different format to hear a president or presidential candidate speak in. And I think it'd be good. It'd be good to like see what they're really like. Not just the pre-scripted stuff.
Agreed. Well, here's the specific thing that I wanted to talk about the DNC was, Kamala kind of agreed with the prior Joe Biden, policy changes and tax policies and things that he had proposed. And specifically, here are a couple of the things that they mentioned. So, one thing, they'd like to increase the top marginal rate on long-term capital gains to 44.6%. So to explain here, currently, capital gains taxed differently than ordinary income. It is either a rate of 0% if you make less than call it 45,000-ish, 15% if you make between 45,000-ish and 500,000-ish, or if you make more than $500,000, it's about 20%. Right? Those are the capital gains tax rates. They want to create another bracket for the ultra wealthy where the marginal tax rate there would be 44.6%. Now, I don't really know how that works in terms of Like, this is different from ordinary income in the sense that it's not on every next dollar that you earn. It is just if you fall in a bracket, you're taxed at this rate, right? Which is weird. But generally speaking, I don't necessarily have a problem with this. If you're ultra wealthy, if you're, net worth 10 million plus or income 10 million plus or whatever, like, I don't necessarily have an issue. Does anyone disagree with me here? Or
Yeah, I do.
okay, go ahead.
It just seems weird
Aggressive?
and unnecessarily complicated. That's it. It just
This on realized gains, by the way. This portion. This portion on realized gains, all they're doing is taking the current practice and adding a bracket to it, making the top rate from 20% to 44.5.
Yeah, okay.
Now, moving forward to what I think MADDOX was getting at.
Sorry, spoilers on that one.
Yeah, spoilers. Unrealized cap gains. So she's proposing for the ultra wealthy, people whose net worth is above $100 million. Again, to clarify, not income. If your net worth is over $100 million, then they're going to incorporate a 25% cap gains tax annually on unrealized gains, meaning gains in the stock market that you haven't sold your stock, but you are required to pay this tax on essentially assets that you've owned and gains you've made on those assets, regardless of if those gains have hit your bank account or not. And here's the reasoning. I agree with you, MADDOX. Like, I don't like this idea as a whole. Obviously, it's never going to affect me because I'm not going to have a net worth of $100 million. But this is what they say. They're saying the current way of not taxing unrealized gains disproportionately benefits high wealth taxpayers and provides many high wealth disparities and produces incentives for taxpayers to efficiently lock in portfolios of assets and hold them primarily for the purpose of avoiding capital gains tax on the appreciation, rather than reinvesting that capital in more economically productive investments. And I'll just pause there for general thoughts. I mean, I think, yeah, I'll pause there. MADDOX.
So,
or anyone.
Or,
Go ahead,
sorry,
Jerry.
I was just going to say, can I just try to summarize it since I'm the one who's maybe the least financially understood on this? So is the idea like to provide a stick instead of a carrot, but a stick to try to get people of like ultra high wealth to reinvest their money more actively into the market? So instead of holding on to it for decades, knowing that whatever thing that you're putting it into should be like a sure bet or one that has like dividends or whatever, the idea is to try to present an incentive to more actively put your money back into the economy?
I think so. I'm not 100% certain, but that's kind of like my read.
From what you read.
Yeah.
What you just read, that's what it sounded like. Incentivize people that are just sitting on a long-term asset that's just growing. They're going to start getting taxed on it each year. So you might as well, they're saying you might as well put it to its most efficient use. I think that's silly. I don't think that's... I think if investors thought there was a more efficient allocation of their capital, they would take the loss anyway and the tax loss anyway and reinvest it or whatever. Here's what they really should do, because I understand the sentiment. This is what they should do to achieve the same objective, but not in a silly way. So they should tax like high net worth investors if they have like a long-term asset that they're holding. If they borrow against that asset, they should tax that as income tax. See what I'm saying?
Meaning like leveraged investing?
Like, think about
what do you
home.
mean? Oh,
think about a home. You're a home equity line of credit.
Yeah, like when Elon Musk, when he purchased Twitter, he did this, right? He like put up essentially his Tesla stock as like collateral to take a loan to then purchase Twitter.
So if they taxed him on taking that loan, because you're not actually the assets, it's just paper money. Why are you getting taxed on just something that's not actually benefiting you yet? Tax it when it benefits you. That's what realizing, like when you realize capital gains, like you are now benefiting from it, so you get taxed on it.
And in this scenario,
unrealized, you don't get it. Yeah.
They're
so when
getting
you
benefit
borrow
by
So high net worth people, they just are going to sit. They can just sit on these assets, whether it be a big portfolio of financial instruments, whether it be real estate, and they can never sell it, so they never pay taxes on it, but they can borrow from it and use the borrowed money to consume, pay off the loans. Like, it's just a big moving paper around game. So if you did the tax on the borrowing, it would essentially achieve the same thing. So they would borrow, if they borrow from it, they pay taxes, or if they sell it and realize the gain, they pay taxes.
I like that a lot.
I have a question in response to that. Do you think to like the average person who doesn't have $100 million net worth or whatever the qualification is, do you think it sounds like we're sort of splitting hairs here, and to them it doesn't, they don't really care? Because I would say, even if it's not the most economically sensible, to them they might say, well, we don't care how we do it, we just want, well, I think what they want is like, they want wealth to be, again, either put back in the market or like, take seized by the government so that it can be reallocated.
They probably see how many individuals in the U.S. have $100 million or more and see how much wealth they have just sitting in assets. And they're like, if we could just tax this a little bit each year, we would create this massive stream of revenue. And I don't know, maybe that's smart. I don't know.
That being said, though, like the federal government is historically bad at allocating assets. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. They're bad at it. I think state governments do a better job because their focus is more like just that, focused, But like I do think it's true. I think the federal government is just bad at allocating assets.
I mean, let's be honest. Well, if they get more assets, it's just go into the military. And I don't necessarily say that in a bad way, but like it's not going to go to like national parks and fixing bridges. Like, let's be honest.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I just generally am like not a proponent of making tax code more complicated. I feel like we should
like your idea a lot, Maddox.
I feel like we should just reform taxes. I feel like we could figure out a way to just make everything more simple. And
I think, unfortunately, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think, unfortunately, the tax code is created intentionally to be confusing because then, the people who create it can then manipulate, get higher salaries at other companies to exploit the loopholes that they created. So I completely agree with you, but this is another one of those.
Aren't the two policies that they're suggesting like kind of contradictive of each other? Like, ultra high worth people have a 25% unrealized tax burden annually. But okay, if you sell your stocks, you're going to have a 44.7% tax. You know what I mean? So then what? Is the goal just to have them keep their money unrealized for forever and just continuously charge them 25% for this? Because that also seems unfair. Again, like I'm not going to be worth $100 million ever in my life, I don't think. But like just on like a personal, like moral level, that just seems unfair, right? I don't know.
Well, maybe it's like, but steady state it at 100 million. I mean, you could make an argument that if you do it that way, then people they'd eclipse it and then come down and eclipse it and come down.
Sure.
Yeah, because right now it's 0. So
yeah.
I will say, if they were doing this to every American, I would be very opposed to it. Right. If they want to do it to really wealthy people, they're going to probably find a way out of it anyway. Yes. So
agreed.
Right. Let's make the attempt.
Should we earn some lunch money, guys? Let's do it. This podcast is sponsored by StockPick. Most investment information is delivered through dense, convoluted websites. StockPick is the only investor-focused mobile app that serves world-class news and insights through short, engaging videos similar to TikTok or YouTube Shorts. Every week, you'll get 15 or more stock tips from Wall Street pros. Plus, the StockPick team shares their daily buy-sell recommendations from the world's top brokerages. On top of that, StockPick offers great value for money compared to alternatives like Seeking Alpha or The Motley Fool. The price point is far more accessible. It works out to just be $1.50 a week versus up to $115 per week on some of those other platforms. Try StockPick today on a 14-day free trial. Check out the link in the description below. Make sure you use our link so we get credit for it. Now back to the episode. If you guys want to join the conversation with us as things are happening, come and join the Discord. The link is in the description below. It's completely free. You'll get advice, thoughts, commentary on current events in the classroom. And it's just fun. We're fun to interact with, so come and join. On to second period. MADDOX, what you got going on this week?
Well, just to start, I put some effort into my thoughts into the Discord chat earlier this week. So
you did.
People are in there talking. So let's get in there.
Come
okay,
join
guys. Get in there, guys. Okay. So JEROME made a trip to Jackson Hole, and no, I'm not referring to any of the members on this podcast.
Yikes. That sounded crazy what you just said. That sounded
Jerome
crazy.
Powell, Fed Chair Jerome Powell, gave a speech at Jackson Hole, which I don't really know what all this stuff is. I just know
Where's
that
Jackson
it's
Hole?
an important thing.
Wyoming.
It's in Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly where they go, but a bunch of economists and bankers gather here each year for a symposium, and they talk about the big picture discussions that are important to our economy and our society. So, I don't know. It's a big deal. People always, like market participants, always follow it really closely because I guess it gives insight into the very broad mindset of like how the Fed is thinking about things. Historically, the stock market has sold off for several months after every one of these events. So, that doesn't mean it's going to happen this year, but just historically in the past few years, that's what's happened. But yeah, so does anyone have any questions, or should I just go into my thoughts?
What are the main takeaways here from Jackson's Hole?
Well, so his speech was actually much briefer than people expected, which I thought was interesting. I think a lot of people thought it was interesting. He spoke a lot about the post-COVID kind of history and the inflation problem and how they, thought it was transitory, and then it turned out that it really wasn't transitory. And I think it was strange to a lot of people that he focused on that. I don't know, because usually they take this as an opportunity to like talk about big picture, forward-looking things, and it was almost like this is just my interpretation. It was almost like he was using this as like a time to like right his wrongs almost, or like justify his like the Fed's mistakes during that time.
Interesting.
But I think the most important takeaway is, they indicated that they're going to probably cut rates in September, and that's been known for a while. And, rates have been much more elevated than in recent years. So markets have been like waiting for this moment for a long time. Like, when is the Fed going to start cutting rates again? And there's this anticipation that as soon as they start cutting rates, like prices are going to go back to the moon, because I don't know. That's how rates typically work. But I think, I don't know, my 4D chess like analysis of this is, we into this event, the stock market's rallied like 10-20% or something like that.
Stupid
and
amount.
Just a week ago or so we had a 10% dip, and we're already back to the highs in anticipation of this event and the rate cuts. So and even before that, we've been rallying in anticipation of the rate cuts for a long time now, and now they're here. And anytime that there is an extreme move into a highly anticipated event, I'm always asking the question: is this already priced in? Like, is it a buy the rumor, sell the news type event? And yeah. I think it is. It's still yet to be seen. All assets are up on the day, so the speech was today. So
So are you saying that my prediction last episode that we were in the start of a recession, not looking good for that prediction? We're rallying perpetually.
Okay, here's the thing. Yeah, well, as of now, yes, we're rallying perpetually. But whether or not we go into a recession or not doesn't really matter for the stock market, because in all assets, it's like all assets are the prices reflect expectations. So if expectations right now are really, really optimistic, and then even if the economy is still just like chugging along, maybe it's slowing a little bit, but even if we don't go into a recession, the economy's like fine. If prices of assets are still over optimistic, and then the reality of the economy doesn't live up to those expectations, that can still be like a very, very bad time for asset prices, because those expectations are built into the prices. And so people are continuously, as the economy goes along and expectations are not met, like those prices have to adjust for that. So, I don't know. I think that the question is, are we going into a recession? Like, there's no economic data that I'm looking at that like suggests that a recession's around the corner. But more what I'm seeing is like the prices of assets aren't reflecting the reality of the economy. The economy is like fine, but like the expectations that are built into asset prices are like ridiculous, because the Fed's starting, the Fed is going to start cutting rates, but markets are expecting them to cut rates in greater amounts and more quickly and aggressively than they've indicated that they're going to do, or is even like, in my view, like reasonable. Like if you look at the rate cuts that are expected for like the next year, it's what's priced into assets is synonymous with like rate cut cycles, like in really deep recessions. So like if the Fed is going to cut rates in the magnitude and the and at the speed that market participants are expecting right now, like that probably means that we are going to have a recession, because if the Fed's going to cut rates like that aggressively, it's in response to something really, 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 really bad. So, I don't know if that makes sense or not. It's taken me like 8 years of thinking about markets to like think about it in this framework of like comparing what are the expectations that people have, and or like what is reflected in the asset prices relative to like what the reality is, and like comparing those two. And it's not just rates, but it's like there's also like growth expectations and inflation expectations. So it's like a big multifactorial problem, and there's all kinds of different varying expectations and realities. But I think that's like the big picture. Like prices are really, really optimistic, and they're starting to cut rates because the Fed like they want to just be transparent about what they're doing. They don't want they want to avoid like scaring the market. So they've talked about in September starting to cut rates and like starting the rate cutting cycle. They haven't like made any major commitment to like exactly how they're going to start doing it, but like they just are, said that they're going to gradually and methodically start cutting rates and like take in data as it comes out. And like, that's their strategy. I do think it's interesting though, that Jerome Powell said today that it was obvious that the path forward is to start cutting rates. And that the inflation problem is, mostly subsided, and it's now time for them to focus on their employment objectives. They have a dual mandate, keeping inflation at the 2% target, keeping unemployment rate at their target. And so the focus for the past few years has been on the inflation mandate. And now they're saying, okay, that seems like it's good. We need to focus on unemployment now. And remember, the big 10% dip last week was because of a unexpected employment, a higher than expected employment rate.
Yeah.
So what is he seeing that is making it so obvious that that's the thing to focus on now? And I think what you could, like see from the big dip a couple weeks ago or a week or two ago is any, like, since prices are really, really elevated, any like small negative shift in expectations is going to have like a drastic impact. Like the unemployment number, it was not like it was not like it was higher than expected, but it's not like a bad number. It's not like a recessionary number, but it was higher than expected, and that that created a 10% drawdown in the stock market. So it's like,
well, so I have a question on that.
There's so much like tension built up in the stock market that any little thing is gonna make it's fragile.
Yeah, I have a question on that piece specifically. So yeah, we saw that 10% drawdown, but then just last week they had those like revised labor statistic numbers, and it saw that there were 818,000 or 820,000 jobs that were lost. This was just last week after the 10% drop, and then we rallied, right? But on that news, it seemed like the market didn't care at all. Like,
so that's data though that was known. So
this is like a revision.
Yeah, it was a revision, but like it was known beforehand, like roughly what the revision was going to be. So like it didn't have the exact number, but everyone knew already, like it was going to be about 1 million jobs that
gotcha.
They overestimated. So like that's the like expectations being priced in. Like it was already known, therefore markets didn't react to it because it was already in the prices. It's like market prices are always reacting to unknown data that's coming out. This is almost like than what is expected.
So this is almost like we were expecting approximately 1 million that it was like going to be off by. It was actually only off by 800,000. So, we're actually doing a little bit better than what we expected it to be.
Yeah, you could think about it that way too. Yeah.
Interesting.
Or I don't know. And like I said, there's so many different data points. I only try to like focus on the high importance ones. So that one, is just not. The revisions happen every year, and like it seemed like people were making it out to be a big deal this year, but I don't know. It's kind of like a standard. It's like a normal thing, and it's mostly known ahead of time, like roughly like what the amounts are going to be and that type of thing. So
from your explanation, MADDOX, it sounds like when it comes to the stock market, there's just several. It's like it's a leveling game where the current metrics are this, and then we expect the metrics next week to be this, and then we expect the expectation of those metrics to be this.
Right.
So it's it's not very straightforward. I think that's why to like everyday people, the stock market changes in the stock market don't exactly make sense. And it's why it's sometimes hard to explain or it can be complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like you said, it's a lot of different factors going into it, but I think the average person would, if we're talking about, I think an easy way to think about it is earnings, a company's earnings. So like, if you think Apple's going to earn $1 billion next quarter, and that sounds really good, right? So I'm going to buy Apple stock because they're going to earn $1 billion next quarter, and that's going to be good for the stock price. It's like, that's sound logic, right? But if the markets were expecting them to make $2 billion next quarter, and even if they made that $1 billion, that's bad. It's like good news can be bad news based on where the expectations were.
It's like if I expect your wedding to be like spectacular and amazing and wonderful, but then it's like mediocre, then I'm going to be upset with you.
Precisely.
Even if you think that it was spectacular and amazing and wonderful.
Yeah. That's how markets work. But I mean, even it's more complicated than that because it's hard to know what the expectations really are. Like everyone has their different models of, building out what the expectations are. I don't do any of this myself. I just get on Twitter and see what there's people on Twitter that just churn out data like this, and I just have a few that I look at and triangulate between them, and it's like, okay, this is what the picture looks like. I don't try to get like super granular, but
so that's the 9 degrees investing advice for this week: is don't build a model, just pull up Twitter.
Right. And on that note,
there's people with more resources and more time on their hands than I have. Right. So
let's get out of Jackson's hole.
Yeah. Okay.
Stop making it possessive.
We lingered on Jackson Hole for a while. I just have one other thing.
Stop.
No.
Go ahead. All right.
I just got one more thing. So our favorite CEO, Elon Musk, he's paying employees $48 an hour to wear a robot suit and a virtual headset. What are those things called? The
VR headset.
VR headset. And to just walk around the factories, I guess, like completing small tasks, like carrying stuff and moving stuff around. Yeah, sure. I guess. I don't know. I haven't played that.
Okay. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah.
That fell flat.
But anyway, the purpose is these like suits are going to track data, and that data is going to be used to train the humanoid robot that they're building.
Dude, this is creepy. First off, $48 an hour. That if that's a 40-hour week and you work for a year, that's $100,000 a year. That's great money. Everyone should do this. Second thing that I noticed on the here, MADDOX, a little discriminatory. I'm not gonna lie. You have to be 5'7". I'm not 5'7".
You're not gonna make the cut, buddy.
That's bullcrap. Do we think that he's just hiring these people to then become the robots? Like, do we think the robots in general are just fake, and these people are just robots now?
He's gonna put the Neuralink chip in their head.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
They're just gonna become robot slaves.
I was gonna say pretty well compensated robot humans if we're putting all the cards on the table.
This is weird, man. This is weird. I don't know how to put it. It's just weird.
It's weird, but knowing a little bit about how AI models are trained, this seems like the best way to do that.
And I guess they're just doing the types of tasks that these robots would be doing. Like you said here, they're carrying 30 pounds around like a factory floor or whatever. Yeah, okay.
I think it sounds very creative. Like MADDOX said, like this is AI is trained based on, data.
Repetition. Yeah.
Yeah, like, existing data. So, get this data and use that to train AI. There's presumably, like, in a way, they're AI-powered robots. The future is crazy,
He said, though, on here that it's going to require, like, millions of hours of data. So we can do calculations on, like, how many employees you need to hire and, like, how many
that's at least $48 million right there.
Yeah.
That was quick math.
Yeah.
If they hire...
That actually is not... That doesn't sound like a lot to Elon Musk.
No, he could do that today.
He's like, also, $48 million. I can, like, train a humanoid robot. Like,
you could do that if you hired, whatever 1 million divided by... Or, sorry. Yeah, whatever 1 million divided by 8 is. What's that number? I don't know. But if you hire...
125,000. Yeah. 125,000.
Yeah. Anyway, if you hired that many people and make them work one work day, you're done. There's your 1 million hours of data.
Okay. I follow you now.
Maybe Elon Musk, you should hire us as the management team for this project.
I agree. I think we'd be
we're experts at spreadsheeting
for this. Yeah. And we're bad at fact checking. That's one thing we're bad at. Fact checking.
Well, so is Elon Musk, so that fits right
in. True.
I'm gonna keep my job.
That was another person that Trump went on their podcast, not podcast, but they did like an interview together. That was kind of crazy.
Like a Twitter space, right?
Yeah.
They were on X video.
Okay, that's what it's called. I see.
Stop it. Maddox,
No,
anything else that you had?
I fell right into that.
Oh,
I fell right into that.
There it is. Jackson got it.
All right, don't
Jackson
Google that, everyone. Don't Google that.
Google that.
And if you
Please
do
don't.
do it on an incognito tab.
Yeah.
Anyways, Maddox, anything else that you had for this week?
No, that's all I got.
All right.
Thanks
In that case,
for joining my my block, my period. What are we calling these?
period.
What? Yeah. Period.
Period.
In that case, moving right on into a third period with Professor Jared. What do you got this week in sports ball?
You know, you could call me Dr. Heldon, and that would be factually correct. I'm just throwing that out there for next time.
Okay. Anyway.
Not too much in sports ball. So sports ball is like right in that like grace period before, you know, college football and NFL kicks back up. So that's coming in like a week or so. First NFL game is on Thursday, Ravens Chiefs. Go Ravens.
Wow.
And then we have week 0 for college football.
Hold on.
This
not,
weekend.
Not the Chiefs. Not the Chiefs. Washington Commanders.
You don't know enough football to make any comments on this. That's
I'll concede.
just a
I'll
completely
concede.
different. You're talking about the former Redskins, is what they were called.
Oh.
The Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Baltimore
Yeah.
Ravens.
That was a fail because Jared even said Kansas City.
Yeah, you're
See.
right.
See,
You're right.
so
Apologies.
we'll just move past that.
Anyway,
but we have
yep.
week 0 football this week. Florida State versus Georgia Tech in Ireland. Catch that one,
Whoa.
I think, at noon kickoff. Yep. Yeah. That one's
Weird.
in Ireland. That one's kind of cool. But anyway, so that one will be but we're ramping back up. So, you know, if you start seeing college football fans, 'tis the season.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jared. This is very random. Do you know anything about Irish rules football? I know it's a thing. I learned it was a thing from watching some Hulu series based in Ireland. But there's like, it's not rugby, but Ireland has football and it has like different rules. And
No, I don't. But now I know what YouTube rabbit hole I'm going to follow down tonight.
there you go.
Yeah. No, I'll look that one up. No, but it would be interesting if they like played that style. Anyways, yeah. I mean, everything else is we're kind of in the lull. I mean, the MLB is still going on. You know, the Orioles are playing horribly, as Jerome alluded to at his gripe at the beginning of the podcast. We'll see. I mean, there's about a month left of baseball, so we'll just get there when we get there. And then F1's back. It's been out for about 3 weeks, so everybody can start watching. Cheer for McLaren.
Nice.
It's actually a really tight race for the Constructors Championship. Max Verstappen's basically going to win the drivers, but McLaren could pull a fast one. So it's starting to.
Based off what you have here in our notes, looks like Red Bull is absolutely destroying everybody.
Incorrect.
In terms of wins.
That's an incorrect interpretation because it's actually really close because Red Bull's only up 40 points. And right now McLaren's going like they're putting like 2 guys in like the top 4 in most races, 2 guys in the top 5. Red Bull's only really tracking 1 guy in the top 5 right now. Sergio Perez is just not kind of living up to the standard. So whereas Red Bull could maybe win like 25, I mean, if Max wins, he gets like 25 points. But if Lando comes in second and Oscar Pistorius comes, or not Pistorius, I keep doing that. Piastri. I know, I keep doing that. And Oscar Piastri comes in second, then they can potentially like get more points for the weekend and slowly chip away at it.
So how does this work? It's like podiums are more important than first place
points.
Finishes?
It's points. So it's
and
like
you get
25.
Points for first, second, third, fourth, fifth.
You get points all the way down to 10th. I'm going to butcher this. So just grain of salt. I think it's like 25, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1.
Yeah, that's how it works in Mario Kart.
Oh, is it?
No, not even close.
No, it isn't actually. Yeah. So it's something like that. So you obviously get more compensated for like first place, and then second place gets more compensated than third place, and then it starts to even out.
So if Team McLaren is doing better, they have a chance to overtake Team Red Bull. Understood.
Correct.
Understood.
Correct. And it's kind of like up in the air how it was like the summer break. So it's up in the air who's going to have the best car for the remaining like 10 or like 12 races, I think is somewhere in that range. So it'll be interesting. Go cheer for McLaren. It'll be nice to see, McLaren win. They're an old school team and they haven't been good in a while. So yeah, it's kind of a lull period in sports, but we're getting to the fall.
Are you going?
So it's starting to
Are you
ramp
going
up.
to Austin this year?
No. I
That would
have
be
no
crazy.
expectations. It would, yeah, Circuit of the Americas. It's on the bucket list.
I believe
Where do
Eminem
we
is
watch that
performing at
again?
F1 Austin.
ESPN 2.
ESPN.
Yep. So quali's
Is
at
that
9
ESPN
a.m.
also?
Yeah, it is. It's actually like yeah. That's exactly what it is. No, it's 9 a.m. quali tomorrow, 9 a.m. race Sunday. I think.
I would
Nice.
definitely go to one of those if you ever want to. I'd be down.
They're apparently
Done.
expensive, MADDOX. Like Austin, like supposedly tickets are like $1,000 each.
You can find some seats that are a little bit less, but for the I mean it's gonna put you back a pretty penny. So once the podcast takes off,
Yeah,
we can do a little trip.
Do a
yeah,
live
live
podcast.
event.
I'm down.
Yeah. There you go. So that's the little sports recap. That's all I got. Just wait for it. It's coming in a couple of weeks. We'll be talking about college football. I'll change into my Ravens gear instead of my Orioles gear.
I have a college football story.
Ooh.
Go for it.
So my younger brother's in the band at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and I went to his rehearsal or practice session the other day.
Yeah.
They invited the families of the participants, the band members, and we got to watch them march through campus and then go into the stadium and perform, their set or whatever. But the section they let us sit in the stadium was the premium section with the cushioned seats.
Ooh, okay.
And they were so comfy. And I'm like, this would make the sports watching experience a lot more comfortable. I don't know.
Yeah, 50-yard line, cushioned seat. Most people sit down during the game. Yeah, it's a different level of comfort.
Yeah.
Is that do you know what do you just pay extra for that, or is that special seating? I don't know.
I don't know what it is for Tennessee, but for Alabama, I know I knew somebody who was in what is called Tide Pride, and then I think he was also a season ticket holder. So some combination, one or the other, both, I don't know, allowed him to eat in the cafeteria as well. They have a cafeteria where they make pretty good food, not just chicken fingers and fries, but actually grilled chicken or whatever, roast beef or something like that, where they're actually making real food. You can sit there, get food, and then just kind of walk over to your seats. And I think because he was a season ticket holder, it had a cushion, or you could come and put a chair down or something and it would just stay there. So I know that's what it is for Alabama. I assume Tennessee has something similar, but it's got to be a season ticket or some kind of Vol Pride organization. I don't know. Jackson might actually know more than this than I do, but I assume it's some combination of giving the university money and being on a wait list.
Jackson, your dad could probably tell us, right?
Maybe. It's a little outdated information, but I don't know personally. I don't have any personal insights on that.
John Painter, let us know in the comments if you know the answer to this.
Yeah,
well, on that note,
that's
right.
the recap of the sports.
We'll move on into our final period, fourth period, with Professor Jackson. What do you got going on this week, Jackson?
So, for the past couple of weeks, I've been reading a book, nonfiction book. Here for all the video watchers, I'll show it on the screen. It's called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Really good book. I'm recommending this to all my friends. Has anyone on the podcast read it?
No, but you recommended it to me, so it's on my list.
Okay, yeah. So the book is basically about he's a scientist. He's a neuroscientist, I think. The book it talks about basically all aspects of sleep as it relates to science, sociology, evolution, and and sort of incidental things like sleep affecting drugs like caffeine and sleeping pills. I'm not going to talk about everything in the book, but I just sort of want to give you a taste. It's it's just very interesting. There's some self-help elements too. It tells you how can you maximize your sleep? How much sleep do you need to be functioning? What are the downsides of not getting enough sleep? So it's a very good book. It's a big wake up call. make a pun there, as to like, you know, how is society need to sleep. But what I actually want to talk about is something he talks about at length in the book, which is the way that society has structured itself, specifically regards to scheduling and how sometimes that's detrimental to getting enough sleep. So to give you an example, common example is like work starts usually like 9 a.m. at almost all businesses. And the problem is one thing he talks about is that people have different, circadian rhythms. And so some people are naturally inclined to wake up early, think like 5, 6 a.m. Some people are naturally inclined to wake up later, like 8 or 9 a.m. And so if you're a late riser, just naturally, like that's just how your body functions naturally. You're going to not get enough sleep. You're going to be waking up. Every night you're not going to be getting enough sleep. You're going to be tired when you wake up. This causes, besides the personal issues it causes, like with your own health, it causes issues with like increased incidence of drowsiness related traffic accidents. In schools, not getting enough sleep is shown to be bad for your acquiring knowledge and retaining it. So I kind of just want to just get general ideas. We've talked a bit about on this podcast about excessive work schedules, especially in like finance related fields, when it comes to, some people work 80 to 100 hours a week, how that puts that objectively puts an undue burden on someone's health. And, is it worth it to sacrifice your own health to like accomplish that? So I don't know. I have some thoughts, but I'll toss it to everyone, just in general. Do you have any thoughts on like how society is structured and how that kind of conflicts with the personal health needs of everyone getting enough sleep?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of this issue before. I personally my optimal sleep, I think, is getting a 20-minute nap in the middle of the day.
Okay.
Have you heard about this? Did it talk about? I've heard that before like electricity was a thing, and the nights were longer, there would be like these periods where people would like sleep twice during the night.
Yeah, he does talk. He does talk about that, and he also talks about what you're mentioning, like the midday nap, and it is biologically, like, evolutionarily ingrained in humans that there is a midday nap is actually like
beneficial and like
or it's like programmed into us that like getting that is good.
So me feeling like I need a midday nap and then taking the midday nap is not like
you're not lazy. It's normal.
I'm not or like that's actually part of my biology. Like and
I mean, like a lot of cultures, especially like Hispanic culture, like it's a big thing in Hispanic and like Southern European cultures that like the midday siesta is a thing where businesses will close between 2 and 4 p.m. because people will take naps, and then dinners will go from like 7 to 11 at night.
I think that I don't know if I'm going a little bit of a different direction, but just like our culture around sleep is not very good, at least here, because when I take my midday nap, I feel like, or when I want to, and I feel like I need it, I feel like I'm being lazy, or like I'm not grinding hard enough, or like I should just drink another coffee or something, like that's kind of like the mentality that I feel like a lot of people have.
The other problem with it is like then if you're up later in the night, like up until 11, 12, 1, like everything's closed. Like it's not like you can do anything extra with that time unless it's like personal stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like Jackson, this is like a really tough one for me because I can kind of see both sides. Like I completely agree with you that our society's not like set up to work for people that don't follow that regular wake up at 7 a.m. and go to bed at 11 p.m. routine. Like it's not set up well But on the flip side of that, like I also do think like I don't know how else you would structure a society. I get your point with the mid-afternoon like nap with like the siesta, right? Like that's fair. I think that's like a good compromise. But like for example, the first thing that came to my mind was like when I worked as an investment banker, right? And you're just constantly like up at these ridiculous hours, like working. There is no time. Like the biggest issue is there's no time to like go to the doctor or whatever, or go to, you know, like things that close at 5 p.m., like regular 9 to 5 businesses, doctors' offices. I don't know what another example is. The post
Getting
office.
your car serviced.
Yeah, haircuts. Like there's no time in the day to go do those things because I'm also working and like doing things. Obviously, like to your point, if we could have different schedules, like that would be possible. But then now, are you making it more burdensome for the entrepreneur, the doctor, the hairstylist, whoever has their own office that now has to shift their own hours to accommodate someone else's sleep schedule, you know? And maybe that doesn't fit their own personal sleep schedule. Like this is a really tough one.
Yeah.
Automation. Humanoid robots do everything.
And we found the person who pitched
Yeah.
the Elon Musk idea.
Well, but so I am really curious, Jackson. You're the one reading this book. What are your general thoughts?
My general thoughts. I mean, well, not to give a wishy-washy answer, but it's complicated. It's difficult to fix this. Yeah, it's difficult to fix the problem. Another example that he gave is that there's, you know, like significant evidence to show that teenagers, so, you know, think like 15 to 19, their sleep schedule, like let's say that the normal person's average sleep schedule is like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. For teenagers, it's closer to something like 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. So teenagers actually have a shifted circadian rhythm that makes them. So if you remember, if anyone was ever in high school and they had to wake up early and they were really drowsy all the time and they couldn't go to sleep at night, that's why. It's because during your teenage years, your circadian rhythm shifts sort of forward. And so, you know, one of his solutions here is like specifically for high schools, and maybe also universities, like don't have 8:30 start times, shift it to like 9:30.
I'm totally on board with that. That also helps with like the whole after school program situation. So many parents either like leave work early or enroll their kids in after school programs because they can't pick them up. If we can start schools at 9:30, like, okay, based off my work schedule, I can drop my kid off at 9 or whatever. And then now they're at school until like 4:35. Like that's so much easier on the parents. I'm so in support of that. We should do this.
Yes. So I guess the answer is that it's going to be a sort of a sector by sector adjustment as far as like making that work. You know, and potentially you could have something where like the business hours could sort of stretch in both ends. And then you could sort of hire for early wake. He calls them morning larks, people who wake up early, and then have a later schedule for what he calls night owls, people who wake up later, go to bed later.
In theory, this is applying to the corporate structure what like a lot of like manufacturing already does with like second shift, night shift, that type of stuff.
Sort of, except that is sort of designed to accommodate a 24-hour schedule, whereas this wouldn't be. And also, speaking of that, that's a whole nother conversation that we don't need to have, but like that he talks about is like, you know, if you're a night shift worker, your sleep is messed up with like,
I was going to say
how like, you know, this like literally like the day, you know, if you're going to sleep when the sun is rising, your body is telling you don't go to sleep. And so combating that makes your sleep worse.
Right.
I've always wondered this, night shift workers, surely like you doing that your entire life or for a prolonged period of time is probably really bad for you, right? I don't know if he probably didn't specifically mention that, but I can't imagine doing night shift work for more than like a summer or something. I know people do it for longer.
Yeah. I think the other hard part is a lot of those. Actually, I'm not going to even say a lot. I know at my dad's company where they, have a lot of manufacturing plants, they have a system where it's like 4 days on, 3 days off for each like quote unquote crew. And so it's like, okay, you do that for 4 days, but then what do you do the other 3 days? Are you like still up at nighttime so you can like keep that rhythm, or do you like go to sleep at a regular hour for 2 days and then you're back to night shift hours? Like, I don't know. It feels
throwing
confusing.
it off.
Yeah. But I also know other companies do it to where they'll do a night shift crew like 1 week out of the month, and then you're on regular shift for like the other 3 weeks, and then on the 4th week you go back to night shift, so they try to like cycle it. But
yeah, it's hard to say what the correct answer is. And also this isn't something that's unique to like blue collar jobs. Doctors, which I would say is probably like one of the most prestigious jobs, they also do something similar where they have very heavy sort of workloads.
Right.
And I know that I've heard, from insiders that there's active pushes to sort of change how that works. It's especially bad for like younger doctors when you're first starting out.
And this is true of like hospital doctors, right? Like where there are patients and people there all.
And like resident physicians, it's like a common thing where you have 48-hour shifts, or like you have like 12-hour shifts at night in the middle of the night, and then it's changing every week, sort of thing. Yeah.
It is interesting. What's the book called again?
It's called Why We Sleep. I'll show it again for the video viewers.
We'll put a link to it in the description.
Say what?
We'll put a link to it in the description.
Okay. Yeah. And I got this copy from my local library, which I know we're all fans of libraries on this podcast.
Yes, we are.
So
nice.
Support that.
But yeah, this book is actually really good. It's like probably the best nonfiction book I've ever read, and I'm recommending it to all my friends. I recommend it to everyone who's watching.
Okay.
I have one more comment and a question. I think like out of all the things that you can do to like improve like your mental health and just like your overall well-being, I feel like sleep is like the number one thing. Out of like diet, exercise, like I feel like if you prioritizing sleep is like the first thing you can do to like, if you're not feeling great, like the first thing you can do to like feel a lot better.
Actually, let me comment on that actually, because Matthew Walker talks about that specifically. He says he used to call it the third pillar of health, but now he calls it the foundation on which diet and exercise sit. So he thinks that good sleep is more important than those.
I feel like I've kind of learned that because like if I'm feeling like if I'm overworked and stressed and whatever, and I'm like, all right, what's the first thing I need to do to like get out of this? I could go force myself to work out or whatever, but I think the thing that's going to yield the best results is like taking a nap. And then also I was going to ask, does he talk about, I know people naturally do have different circadian rhythms, but did he talk about being able to like change yours? Because I've heard that you can, if you're intentional about it, like you can kind of train yourself to like be a morning person if you're not typically like a morning person.
Yeah, I think so. What he says is it either takes a long time or it takes extreme circumstances. So one example he gives is that and after I read this book, I saw this on Reddit a few days later, which is funny, that there was a scientist who lived in a cave for like 6 weeks and got some like, I forget what exactly the results were, but got some interesting results where he was thrown way off the circadian rhythm, and also I think someone mentioned this, like he found himself sleeping in two major amounts in like the middle, or not during the night necessarily, but like he would sleep for like 4 hours at once and then 4 hours again later. It talks about a lot, like probably anything you can think of related to sleep. It does talk about, this book talks about it.
Interesting.
And I guess just to wrap up this segment, to give you sort of the thesis of the book, you all should sleep more. Everyone who's listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
8.5 hours or 8 hours. 8 hours is pretty good. That's good. Absolutely. Good number to shoot for.
Wait, let's all say what our like what we think our optimal amount of sleep is. I'm curious. I think mine's 9 hours, and then okay, I don't know. It's either 9 hours and a 20-minute nap, or if I get less than 9 hours, like definitely like the 8 plus the 20 minutes.
I think for me, it's a total of 8 hours and 30 minutes in a day. And so if I nap during the day, I will sleep less and still get the good amount of sleep.
I feel like 8 hours for me, but specifically like call it midnight to 8 a.m. If I'm like up before 8 a.m., it's impossible for me to like just get any worthful thing done, worthwhile thing. Like I'm just a waste man, as the British say.
I feel like 7.5 has been something that I've noticed that like works well for me, but I'm also kind of addicted to coffee, so I just power through. So I probably am tired like most of the time, so I'm maybe a little bit of an asterisk, but I'd say anywhere between 7 and 8. 7 and 8 is what I get.
What you guys let us know what your circadian rhythm is or optimal sleep time in the comments down below. And before we wrap up this episode, our final segment for the week, as we always do, everybody's favorite segment, Recess, which is where we give you our findings of the funniest and dumbest memes on the internet that we come across our feed or come across Twitter, Reddit, etc. I only have one thing for you guys this week. I don't know if anyone's got anything else, but an anonymous Akron billionaire is reportedly purchasing a 33% stake in the Boston Celtics. Jared, did you hear about this?
No, I'm looking at it now.
And I am going to share the picture of who this anonymous Akron billionaire is for you guys. It is allegedly El LeBron. I don't know. I just thought this picture was so funny. They just put like fake glasses and a mustache on him. They're like this anonymous billionaire. But it's so true. How many billionaires are there in Akron, Ohio? Or from Akron, Ohio, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. I can only think of one.
Right. And especially one that would be interested in buying a stake of the Boston Celtics. Like, this just feels like a no-brainer.
33%. That feels like a lot.
It's a big amount. It's a big amount.
Is that a real thing, though? Is there someone buying a 33% stake in the Celtics?
Yeah, apparently. Well, actually, unconfirmed. I haven't fact-checked it.
Oh, it's Jared. Jared, he's asking a source.
He's looking
right
at
now,
he's looking up right now.
I was looking things up. I don't know. I'll have to
unconfirmed.
We'll find out next episode, I guess.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you guys for watching the episode. If you want to interact with us, like we've been saying, make sure to come and join the classroom on Discord. The link will be down below. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel to watch the video version of the podcast. Also, Instagram, TikTok, at 9 Degrees Pod on everything, so make sure you check those out. Thank you guys for watching the episode, and class is now dismissed.
Peace.